Hello and welcome back to the Fight and Talk 2 channel with myself, Mr. Fight and Talk, joined as always by the amazing co-host of the show, the eloquent analyst, Prath, down there in the bottom. How are we doing, Prath? All good, bro?
I'm doing great, sir. How are you?
Good, man. Good. Your hair is looking fresh. Fresh, my friend. That is looking amazing, yeah?
Thank you,
Very
sir.
much like my own. Very much like my own.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to Paolo for the fresh trims, yeah? West London. George, you look like you need a trim, bud. What's going on?
Yeah, I definitely need a trim. I've got a proper mop on. I'm thinking I'm gonna go for the old Kevin Keegan from the 70s look. That's what I'm gonna go for. But yeah, no, I'm all good, man. I'm feeling very casual.
That's it. You're over in casual corner. Fantastic. Now, we obviously did a prelim video for this as well, and we're onto the main card. And you know what? I've been talking about this card since they first announced it, and the whole of the MMA community has. And you almost get butterflies. Do you know what I mean? You get butterflies as to how exciting this card is. And obviously we're recording this a little bit before the weigh-ins and stuff like that. So fingers crossed, praying to the MMA gods that none of these fights fall off, because obviously over the past couple of weeks we've had, touch wood, we've had a couple come off, but we've got this now. We have got this. And the card opens up with some absolute killers. And then we move into this filet mignon, beef Wellington. I don't know what's going on for these top three, man. It's insane. But we're going to start off with Thiago Santos versus Ratchet, man. George, tell me a little bit about what's going on there. We haven't seen Thiago for a while.
Yeah, man. Thiago obviously coming off 2 losses. But it's kind of been a weird couple of years for Thiago Santos, because he kind of had that split decision loss, was it, to John Jones, or that very close loss to John Jones? And everyone was like, oh, did he actually beat John Jones and all this kind of stuff? And then obviously since then he's had a couple of losses, and now they've put him up against one of these new up and coming light heavyweight killers in Alexander Ratchet, a guy who seems to be the kind of the new age guy making the closest run towards a title shot. He's ranked 4 in the world. And the bottom line is, in this fight, to be proper simple about it, someone's getting knocked the fuck out in this fight. This ain't going the distance. This ain't going the distance. Someone is going to sleep. And man, it's tough to pick. But it's tough to pick, but I'm gonna go with Ratchet. I'm gonna pick Ratchet in this. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Ratchet. Mainly, all I can think about in my head is that Jimmy Manoa kick that where he just literally sent his head about 500 yards out of the arena, and it literally was, oh Christ alive, it was bad. And the other thing as well is that he's got these great leg kicks, Ratchet, all the way up the body. You saw in that fight of Anthony Smith back last summer, he attacked the lower legs, the calves, big time. He's got that great range, and I'm wondering whether that might be a problem for Thiago Santos potentially. But look, Thiago Santos is on top of the lightweight division for a long time. This is a big fight for Ratchet. This is definitely his biggest fight of his career. But come through this and you're up there with the Glover Teixeiras, potentially looking for those fights, maybe with a new champ in Israel Adesanya. So yeah, interesting fight to start the main card off. A great fight, 2 monsters at light heavyweight, and I'm taking Ratchet to knock Moreta, Thiago Santos out.
And it's going to be an absolute banger. Prath, you looked a bit surprised then. What do you think about the Santos Ratchet bout coming up? Is it going to have all the hype around it, and then it's going to end up like Garn and Rosenstruik did last week, where 2 people are just too scared of each other to throw anything?
That is exactly the point that I wanted to make. Literally, I think it's going to be that they both know that they can knock each other out, so it's going to be very hesitant. They're going to know, both sides as well. Punches and kicks will knock them out as well. So it's one of those ones where I just think it is going to be a little bit, maybe it's going to be a bit more of a feeling out process in the first round or so. And then as the second round kind of progresses, they felt each other's power. They know the distance. They will go out there and win and knock each other out. But for me, I do want to say that I think Thiago Santos for me is someone that has always just been an absolute warhammer, and that is not including the one on his chest, but just the amount of wars that this guy has gone throughout the years. The John Jones fight, Anthony Smith, like he had a war with him. Like I really love his fighting acumen. He comes in with a great skill set all over the board. You know, leg kicks are fantastic, punches are fantastic. He's able to kind of be defensively great as well. I would say in the kind of grappling exchanges as well, just in case Alexander Rakic decides to take it to that region. That's the other thing we got to kind of look at as well. We want to see both these guys knock the F out of each other. But what happens usually in those situations is it becomes a grapple fest or it becomes a hesitant fest. So I'm not gonna put it out there, even though I just put it out there. I'm not gonna put it out there, and I'm gonna say that they are just gonna go swinging for the fences. But I'm gonna take Thiago Santos, and I'm gonna take him via head kick.
Oh, fuck me.
Throw out there.
Can you imagine? Oh, mate.
Very,
if
very.
it happens, though, I'm coming for you if it happens.
No, and honestly, I'm super pumped for that fight as well, man. It's going to be good to see Thiago Santos coming back as well. And Ratchet, obviously, has had some absolutely fantastic fights over the past couple of years. But I believe the Jimmy Manoa thing that must have been 4 or 5 years ago. So this guy's been around the top echelon of the division for a while now, right?
And he's been around for a while. People have been talking about Rakic for a while now. And I just want to say quickly as well, is that there's a lot of people, like these fights get made, and it's like a guy on his way out against an up-and-comer. This is not that fight. Thiago Santos is still well in the race. He's not done by any stretch of the imagination. And this is what makes this fight so great, I think, is that you're putting Rakic up against a guy who still can do it. Like, there's still that kind of like needle of doubt in your mind that that Rakic might lose. Like, where if you put up against maybe a Thiago Santos in 2 or 3 years' time, you'd go, oh, he'll definitely win. He's still in that ballpark area where he still can definitely get it done, and he still could knock Rakic out. I just think that this kid's a killer, man. I just think this guy is a monster. You look at him and you just think, Christ, that is not right. A human shouldn't look that scary.
I guess the winner of this is going to be looking towards a number 1, number 2 kind of contention fight as well. Maybe a Dominic Reyes, something along them lines. And obviously the guy someone is going to take an L at the weekend in that light heavyweight bout, but we'll get to who it is later. But, you know, they're going to be looking for a bout against someone along that kind of lines as well. So it's going to be an absolutely fantastic bout to kick off the main card. Say again, mate?
Whoever comes through, if Jiri Prochazka gets the win over Dominic Reyes, Matt put him against Jiri Prochazka, and Christ alive. Oh my God, man. There's killers everywhere in this division. Mate, can't.
And it's about time it came to the surface as well, you know, because I feel like the light heavyweight division gets a lot of stick, especially with the John Jones era, spanning such a long time. And it kind of just being this kind of float along division. I feel like the UFC are doing that for every division at the moment. It seems like every division just seems to have so much more movement than it ever has. I don't know if it's because we started this podcast a little while ago and that we're getting so much more into it, but I really feel like the UFC are upping their game with regards to their matchmaking, with regards to their superstardom of certain people as well. And I'm super excited to see where every single division, especially the light heavyweight division, goes in the next kind of 8 to 14 months. But someone else who's obviously going to try and leap to superstardom is Makhachev, who's coming up in this card as well versus Drew Doba. Prath, how do you see that going, man? Because a lot of people are high on this Makhachev guy, but I don't think he's fought anyone in the top 15, right?
Yes, that is a very, very true point to be making about Islam Makhachev, man. An incredible fighter. I will give him that. And obviously you can tell when he's in these fights, you know, he's got that very Khabib style of fighting, 6-fight win streak so far in the UFC, taking, you know, very, very legitimate competition. Arman Sarukian, who went back and forth in the grappling, and that was a very close decision in favor of Islam Makhachev. And the other person as well that really blew me away was the Davy Hamos fight. Davy Hamos is a BJJ legend, and for Makhachev to get out of there unscathed, and when I mean unscathed, like without being wrapped up in submissions and being choked out, I'm really surprised about that because Davy Hamos is a beast, man. So 6 fights so far in the UFC. 6-fight win streak in the UFC. Obviously, the one before that 6-fight win streak was a KO loss to Adriano Martins, which was a KO, an actual punch KO. And it was actually kind of surreal to watch that. And I think, you know, when you look at a lot of these Dagestani fighters, you kind of feel like they're somewhat invincible or somewhat indestructible because of the way that Khabib has kind of conducted himself. And to the credit of the Dagestani fighters, you know, all of these other guys, including Askar Askarov, who's on that kind of prelim card, is an absolute beast. He is able to grapple and do it better than anyone in the world, right? So I feel like the Russian fighters do get a little bit more sting, and they kind of have a little bit of an air of invincibility to them, right? Now we flip over to Drew Doba, right? Drew Doba is coming off of 3 TKO wins in a row, and they were brutal TKO wins. He didn't go in and just kind of, hey, I'm gonna TKO you, I'm gonna get you in the turtle position and knock you out. He is deading guys, and in a bad way as well. So I am really, really excited to see this. I think it's going to be a very close fight. I think if Drew Doba is able to at least, I think if he can fend off that first takedown and is able to get that confidence from there, he has a good chance of knocking out Islam Makhachev, right? And the reason why I say that is, and even though he's on a 6-fight win streak, he got a knockout loss on his record. I think that's very different mentally if you were to get a decision victory and to get knocked out, right? So because he's been knocked out before and Drew Doba is here on a 3-fight KO streak, I'm going to kind of go with Drew Doba here. I want to see Drew Doba do this, man. And I think the reason why I want to see him do this is I want to kind of see him break that invincibility of the Russian fighter and show, hey, you are an incredibly skilled fighter. I'm sure he gives Islam Makhachev all the respect in the world, right? Drew Doba is one of those very, very respectable guys as well that likes to show respect and show that he can appreciate what the other person's bringing to the table, right? But when he gets in there, he is ruthless with his backing dudes up. Constantly, he's throwing combination strikes. He's not one of those guys that's going to get hit. Okay, I'm going to move around a little bit. I get hit now. Move around a little bit. You get hit now. No. He's throwing 3-4 strikes at a time at your head and at your body and at your legs. So I'm very high on Drew Doba. I think Drew Doba is a sneaky one for this lightweight division. And I see him getting the KO here. And I'm going to say it's probably in the second round. I think what's going to happen here is in the first round, Makhachev is just going to kind of constantly try and go for the takedown. I'm hoping, or I'm predicting that Drew Doba is going to maybe defend the first couple of takedowns, really start to get that confidence and start letting his hands go. And I think once he starts letting his hands go, there's a good chance he's gonna come away here with a KO victory, man. Just look at his last 3 fights. And they aren't slouches either. Alexander Hernandez, Nasrat Hakparast, Marco Polo Reyes, 3 very, very good fighters that do have great chins and have all been in wars. So Drew Doba, second round, KO. Let's go.
You know, it's crazy, man. The excitement for this card is just unbelievable. You know, and the fights before we even get to those title fights are just huge. You know, as we said earlier and in the previous episodes and stuff, the matchmaking is absolutely fantastic for this card as well. And Makhachev, Doba, you know what? I'm going to stay out of this one. I'm going to say I just want someone to win, and I want someone to win in devastating fashion. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to be completely on the fence about this. Makhachev is fantastic. He's obviously coming in with a very, very large amount of hype behind him. Drew Doba is as well. I think the guy's a killer. Anyone can get knocked out at any point. Anyone can get submitted at any point. You just do not know. I remember I put a bet on. I can't remember who it was. It was like third round, in between the second and third. I thought, right, I'm going to put a house on it. He's like a minus 800 favorite to win or whatever it was. And then he got subbed in the last like 30 seconds of the fight. And I thought, wow, like this is really frustrating. But it just goes to show you're never out. You're never out of the game. You can get Yair Rodriguez versus Korean Zombie, upward elbow, last 1 second in the fight. Who saw that coming? No one. No one saw that shit coming. Do you know what I mean? It's just insane. And you know what? Another person that I'm really looking forward to on this card is my personal GOAT, Amanda, the Lioness, Nunes. I am super high on this lady. I have been for a very, very long time. I think she is fantastic for the women's division. She's a multiple champ. She's the only person to defend both of her belts as well. We haven't seen that from anyone else. Her ground game is fantastic. Her kicking is fantastic. Knocking out Holly Holm with the Holly Holm kick. Knocking out Chris Cyborg. I used to watch UFC on my phone, right? Because I couldn't link it to my TV and shit. I don't want to pay for that. And when she knocked her out 3 times within 10 seconds, my phone was all over the place. I didn't know what to do with myself. And it just cemented her as the greatest of all time. After she beat Ronda Rousey, after she's beaten some massive names in the women's divisions, she comes up against a very, very tall lady in Megan Anderson. But George, who have you got for this? How do you see it going? If you say anyone but Amanda Nunes, I'm just going to ignore your I'm going to ignore your comments anyway. But just say Nunes wins, and we can move swiftly on. You know.
Well, don't worry. Nunes does win. You know, look, she is the GOAT. She is the greatest female mixed martial artist. For me, easily, hands down. You know, and you look at the kind of numbers as well. Like, she's won her last 11 fights, 8 consecutive title fight wins now. The interesting thing here, between the two of them, Nunes and Anderson, most of their victories come by knockout, which would suggest that maybe we're looking at a knockout here. And Anderson, I don't know a lot about her, to be honest, but she is, from what I've seen and read over the last week, she's a very good boxer. So potentially that could cause potential problems. That's clearly.
But boxing, how is boxing going to affect Amanda Nunes? Amanda Nunes boxed off of Ronda Rousey. Amanda Nunes boxed. She outboxed Holly Holm, who is a decorated boxer. Come on.
No, and I'm not disagreeing with you. But you have to give her something. She's in a fight. She has a chance. She's
tall as fuck. She's got loads of tattoos. That's what we can give her. She can take the L and we can all move on.
No, and she will. She won't win, and she won't win on Saturday. That is, I don't disagree with you. But you have, when she enters in there, she has a chance of winning, but her chances are very slim. So that, and don't. There's one other thing that shouldn't be ruled out about Amanda Nunes, and I don't think she'll lose one bit. But Amanda Nunes has always been famed for that aggressive style and that kind of killer mentality, and perhaps she's a little bit distracted from time away from fighting. She is a mother now. She has had time to kind of, and which has been an amazing experience for her, evidently. And but maybe that has softened her slightly. And I'm not saying that's another reason for her to lose. I don't think she will lose. I keep on repeating myself. The other thing as well is I want to say about Megan Anderson's boxing is that although she's a good boxer, she leaves herself open quite a lot. If you'd let me finish my point, Connor, I would have said to you that she'll leave herself open and she'll get knocked the fuck out. But you interrupted me. So for God's sake, next time when I'm talking about something, shut up. No, but in all seriousness, she's getting fucking hell. She's getting knocked out. Megan Anderson is getting knocked out.
We'll save that bit, and if she does win by however miracle, if she does win, we'll save that bit and we'll play it back for you.
Maybe it plays me for more, but I cannot. I've sat for the last 2 days trying to figure out a way that I can justify how she could possibly win, and all I got to was she's quite a good boxer. That's all I got to. It is what it is. No, Amanda Nunes is Amanda Nunes. The only person that might give her a challenge in the future is a third fight with Valentina. But in Megan Anderson, I'm sorry, she hasn't got a chance. I don't think.
Amanda Nunes is coming out of a great team as well. Obviously, she's fought out of American top team for a very long time, and she's got great respect for her coaches and great respect for her training partners as well. And she's always been very, very clear that she had an amazing amount of respect after the fights as well. But Prath, how do you see it going? Do you think the Lioness is going to remain on the throne, or do you think she's going to get dethroned, man?
So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take off my eloquent analyst hat and I'm going to pick up George's funny casual hat and pop it on and disagree with both of you. And I'm going to say that Megan Anderson's going to win. She's going to win by knockout in the first round. Screw you guys. Come back to this podcast afterwards. First of all, I'm going to prove George wrong with Dominic Cruz beating Casey Kenny. And now I'm going to prove Connor wrong by saying that Megan Anderson knocks out Amanda Nunes in the first round. The reason why I have no logical things to give you this, to say, okay, yeah, it's because, her outside right jab is just perfect for that. No. There is none of that. It is purely based on a puncher's chance. Now, I quite fancy the underdog here, just to use George's terms a little bit there. I think Megan Anderson is a huge, huge featherweight. I think she's very tall. I think if she can use her distance correctly, even if she's fighting on the outside, so Amanda Nunes pressing forward and Megan Anderson fighting from the outside, she could do the kind of Stefan Struve, Alexander Volkov game of just kind of picking her apart. I'm not saying that Amanda Nunes is not going to just walk through that and swing hammers. That is also very, very possible. But I also got to kind of agree with George just a little bit, right? She's a mother now. Her perspective on fighting has changed. Whether she likes it or not, whether she thinks it has or not, it has changed, right? She's now fighting for someone else. Now, that can either be a good thing or a bad thing, right? In the good sense that obviously it motivates her further. She wants to do better so her child can look at her mother and say she is the greatest of all time, right? And that's something that we already give her reverence for, right? The other side of that is that she could be distracted and have taken that time off to look after the child. Ring rust, all of those other things, they could be I'm not saying they are factors. I'm saying they could be factors. But just to tie my point up here with a lovely bow, all I'm going to say is Megan Anderson, round 1 KO. Watch this space, lads.
You know, I was sat here loading up my verbal shotgun with, right, so Dustin Poirier was never going to beat Conor because he's got a kid. Conor's just had a couple of kids, so that's it now. He's never going to win again because he's got kids. Jan Blachowicz has a kid, so he's not going to win. Because Izzy and Megan Anderson ain't got no kids, they're going to win this. Is that what you're saying?
All I'm going to say is, fellas, that you both picked McGregor to win. I picked Dustin Poirier to win. Let's just wait and see what happens. You know, we've got a couple of days here still. Let's just wait and see what happens.
I do think just quickly on, I mean, it is more of a mental battle, this fight, than it is a physical one. Even though Megan Anderson is a really rangy and long individual, and it is awkward potentially for Nunes. Yeah. I do think it is more mental, like perhaps said, how much maybe has been distraction, but I think you'll see probably within the first 30 seconds if she's on it or not. You'll know literally instantly. And if she's on, man, Megan Anderson's in serious trouble.
But everyone said that Chris Cyborg was going to be the best 145er, and that she was super aggressive and that she had fantastic hands, obviously training most of her life out of Thailand as well with like Tiger Muay Thai and stuff like that. And you think, Amanda Nunes just completely destroyed her in, the first minute and a half of the round. Ronda Rousey was one of the most decorated female fighters ever that kept being in the UFC because what she did for the division and what she did for women's MMA. She got destroyed. Holly Holm, who had beaten Ronda Rousey and had this great record, and, the preacher's daughter, she's coming in with this fantastic kickboxing record. She got beaten. And was it Jamaine Sterling at 135 that Amanda Nunes took the 5-rounder to and said, you know what, yeah. I can beat them by kick, I can beat them by decision, I can beat them by any which way I want to. And I think that makes her so, so dangerous. She is part of this elite club of fighters that can literally pick and choose how she wants to dismantle her opponent. You know what, I'm not going to completely write off Megan Anderson because I believe she won by toe to the eye. I watched that fight and she had like a head kick, toe to the eye. I cannot remember who it was against, but a toe to the eye is apparently completely legal and the other lady just completely can continue. So tell me.
Ungano.
Yes, it was Ungano. Yes, she caught her in the eye and then she was like, well, this doesn't count because she basically poked me in the eye with her foot and then she won the fight. So one of those wins on her record is technically just completely fabricated in my opinion.
But it will always go down as a TKO victory. So I don't know what you're talking about there, mate.
It definitely wasn't. It was.
I'm looking at her record now. She got a TKO win.
We said this last time. Unless you look into these wins and losses and how they've won, come on. I remember watching it live and I was like, well, they should run this back. This should be like a no contest. Run it back in, I don't know, 3 weeks' time or whatever. I believe they did that with Jeremy Stevens as well when he got caught with an eye poke that was too bad to continue the fight. They ran it back. He lost anyway. Not the point, but just run it back when this kind of things happen, man.
Just quickly as well before we move on to the next fight, I just want to give a shout out to a guest on our show, Mad Dog Brian. He said that Megan Anderson was going to win as well. If he predicts late on this week that Nunes is going to win, and I see it on social media, I will be disappointed, Brian. So
I will unfollow you, Brian. I will unfollow you.
Anderson, you better stick. So yeah,
I'll unfollow you, Brian. Watch yourself.
And an unfollow is worse than death. All right, next one on the card that I want to speak about, that we're going to speak about, is Petr Yan versus Aojo, Jamaine Sterling. Now, I was doing a little bit of research on these two gentlemen this morning when I was awake at about 6 a.m. And this is like, you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of, as does the main card, the main event, sorry, it reminds me of Creed 2. I don't know if anyone's seen that film. There's a guy that has everything. He's got this glorious lifestyle. Everything's all amazing stuff, visually anyway. And he's fighting this guy that lives in the arse end of nowhere that's lifting up sand and, I don't know, snow and shit. You know what I mean? It's a very Creed 2 kind of thing. But we will see. We will see how this comes out. Obviously, Jan's got a fantastic boxing background as well. And this guy loves his craft. He wants to know everything about it. He went over to Tiger Muay Thai. He trained over there. He went over to Brazil to train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu out in Brazil as well, which is fantastic. He's beaten people like Uriah Faber. I know you're not a massive fan of Faber anyway, so that's probably works in your favor, Praf. But he's also beaten one of the greatest fighters of all time in Jose Aldo, and he went a 5-round. Was it 5-round he went, or did he catch him in the 5th round? I think it was. Or is it just?
He finished
out. 5th round. 5th round.
Yeah, I mean,
3 minutes 24 seconds.
Insane. I didn't know if it went all the way or if it was the 5th round, but you know, this guy's got an absolutely fantastic background. He is a machine coming out of Russia as well. And you know, as he said in one of his pre-fight interviews, that there's a lot of fighters coming out of Russia, as we have discussed in this episode and the previous episodes. But he's fighting a very, very accredited wrestler as well, with a two times NCAA wrestler in Algerman Sterling, obviously training with Matt Serra at Serra BJJ as well, who obviously beat GSP, etc., which goes back to MMA and maths. GSP is not the GOAT, all this kind of mad stuff. But he's had some fantastic wins as well. He's had some fantastic wins. Most recently, Corey Sandhagen as well. He just acted like a backpack for every single minute of those rounds. And it was absolutely fantastic. His wrestling was amazing. And I believe he sank the sub as well quite late into the fight. So he's clearly got the cardio. He's clearly got the credentials to do it. But Prath, how do you see it going, my friend?
What a fight, man. What a fight, boys. This one is going to be, I feel that it's going to be the fight of the night. I feel like this one really will be the fight of the night. Both guys game. They're both young. They're both in their prime. And they're both ultra aggressive. Peter Yan on a 10-fight win streak right now. And a lot of those are by TKO, KO victory, right? That's a very scary prospect. Now, we did mention that, you know, there's a lot of Russian fighters that are coming out that are employing a very Khabib-style heavy grappling and things of that nature. You're not going to see that out of Peter Yan. You're going to be seeing punches in combinations. You're going to be seeing punches to kicks. Like the combinations that come out of this guy are just beautiful to watch, man. Like I love watching the Jimmy Rivera fight because he really styled on Jimmy Rivera, knocking him down pretty much at the end of every single round as well. Like real styled on him. But saying that, I do like Peter Yan a lot, and I think he is a great fighter. I think the way he kind of styles his moving forward, he kind of like paws at them, but he's got his hands real tight to his face as well. So I think it's one of the more unique stances I've seen out of the bantamweight division. And I think that's definitely given him a lot of that success against, you know, John Dodson, Jimmy Rivera, Uriah Faber, Jose Aldo. These are not scrubs. These are all top echelon fighters, man, as we like to say out here. But saying that, Aljamain Sterling. I actually really like Aljamain Sterling. The reason why I really like Aljamain Sterling is because in his second fight, I want to say in his second fight in the UFC, which was in like 2015. So this is 5 years ago. I would say anything 5+ years, I would consider them a UFC vet at this point because of just the age of the sport in general. I would say due to the ever evolving side of it as well, 5 years is quite a good amount of time to say like, okay, he's made some significant, you know, start to end changes, right? Who he was in 2015, he's a much improved version of it. But in his second fight, he did a arm triangle from the bottom. And after I saw that, I was like, yeah, I'm in Aljamain Sterling. And from there, he kind of went on to have some great success, had some really heartbreaking losses. You know, Marlon Moraes getting KO via the knee. You know, that was a really awful one to see. You know, lost a very close split decision to Brian Caraway, lost a very close split decision to Asun Sao. So these are all very top ranked fighters, man. So think that it's taken him time to really start to feel comfortable in there. He's always had really dynamic striking. He's throwing spinning kicks. He's throwing and he's a very rangy guy for that bantamweight division. Let's see how tall he is. He is
5'6".
He's 5'7". 5'7" for a bantamweight fighter is pretty massive, and you can tell when he stands over these guys in the octagon, he's towering over most of these guys. Like even Sandhagen, who is quite naturally quite a thinner gentleman, shall we say, leaner gentleman, but is quite tall. Normally the bigger guys are quite short but stocky as well. So I would say that Algerman's got a height and reach advantage over a lot of these guys at the bantamweight division. I would actually love to see him at 145 at some point as well, and I think he's a massive dude, and I think he's going to do really great there. But we'll focus on him at bantamweight at this time, because I want to also highlight his win over Corey Sandhagen. Wow, backpack personified, right? And when he came out in that fight, he came out with a purpose. He came out with a mission to silence Corey Sandhagen, and he did it in the quickest way he could. He pressured him immediately, basically ran across the octagon at him, and then pushed him back to the fence the entire fight till he could get him down, backpacked him, rear naked choke, put Corey Sandhagen to sleep. And Corey Sandhagen in these last couple of fights has looked like a phenom. And not to say that he wasn't going to be a phenom against Aljamain Sterling, but the point of this is that Aljamain Sterling came out there to dominate. He did not give Corey Sandhagen a chance to do anything other than think, Aljamain Sterling is right in my face, I better get the hell out of here. And man, I really, really love that side of it. I think this is going to be a close fight. Sorry, I kind of waffled on here, but what I will say is that Aljamain Sterling, for me, I feel like if anyone's going to give Jan one of his tougher tests, I think it's going to be Aljamain Sterling, purely from a grappling standpoint. I think if Aljamain Sterling can come out and change it up a little bit, obviously he throws a lot of strikes to takedowns and things of that nature. I think if he comes out and employs like a straight up, I'm going to take you down like Khabib all the time and just maul you, I think Aljamain Sterling's got a good chance. And not to say that Peter Yan's got rubbish jiu-jitsu or rubbish wrestling. I think he does, but I think, as you mentioned with the I see you with the knowledge, the two-time NCAA champion right there. I see you with the knowledge, Connor. I think the amount of time he's had in wrestling will really give him that advantage. And I think if he's able to at least get him down once, that will really open up the doors for him to continuously take him down. And I think he's very dominant on the ground. I don't know if he's a black belt. If he's not a black belt, he's definitely a brown belt. He's very, very high up there. So I'm going to take Aljamain Sterling, and I'm going to take him via. It's going to take some time. Boys. It's a 4th round submission, and I'm going to go with a rear naked choke.
Obviously, something we didn't touch on as well is that due to COVID restrictions and stuff like that, Peter Yan has obviously taken his camp over to American Top Team out in Vegas as well. So he's training at, what is considered one of the best gyms, the best, rounds of gyms in the world, and having his pedigree coming from Tiger Muay Thai. And I'm sure he probably, threw hands a lot of times with people like Fizayev as well while he was out in Tiger Muay Thai, who's obviously a striking coach over there. So for me, I think that unless Sterling can get his game plan of wrestle fucking him, but even then, I think Piotr Yan is just very, very good on the ground as well, and I think he's got cardio to match. I don't think either of these guys are going to be gassing out at any point in this 5-round fight. I think it's going to be all the way through. But what do you think, George? Do you think this is going to be a close bout, or who have you got there, bud?
I'm going with the champ. I'm going with Yan. And I'm going with Yan for a variety of reasons. But I do think Sterling has got a good chance. The wrestling will play a part. One thing, though, that hasn't been mentioned so far is the percentage of takedown defense from Yan in the UFC since he arrived in the UFC is at 89%. So for Sterling to get him onto the ground is going to be impressive in itself, because he rarely ever gets taken down. So he's got a tough challenge, and Sterling striking has continually improved. It's continually got better and better, and it's certainly a key weapon for him. But for me, Yan is one of the best boxers in the UFC. I mean, that he switches stance on the regular. He manages his distance so brilliantly. He has great footwork. His strikes, he lands 6.5 strikes a minute compared to his opponents who land 3.1 a minute on him. and his success rate is over 50% on his strikes. Like all the numbers. I mean, I know that stats don't really take into factor what might happen on Saturday, but if you look at the numbers, it paints a pretty picture for Petr Yan, to be honest. I think there's great narrative in this fight. They hate each other, which is brilliant. I love that. Before we even get in there, they dislike one another. And this is definitely at the moment, this is the best against the best. Aljamain Sterling has been on this great winning streak, and he's completely deserving of stepping in there and fighting for that belt. But it's unfortunate it's against a guy who looks to me like he's got a lot of arsenal to kind of nullify Aljamain Sterling. I feel if it stands up for 25 minutes, it's going to be Yan all day long. And if he can get him, if Aljamain Sterling can get into the ground, then he has got the path to victory there, because we've never really seen Yan on the ground. We presume that he's quite good there, but we don't really know. And I don't know. I just find it difficult to see Sterling in this one. I think he's completely deserving of being there, and I think he's got every chance possible. But Yan's the better boxer. I fancy to stay on the ground, on the feet for most of the fight, and because of that, I think he'll take it by decision, Petr Yan.
Yeah, I definitely agree with both of you guys that it's going to be a definite fight in the night contention. But as will all of these bouts, that is the joy of this 259 card. Any of these fights could be fight of the night. I hope Dana has got his checkbook ready to give fight bonuses, performance bonuses. Just fucking being at 259 is going to be a bonus in itself for some of these guys, and the platform that he's going to have
really
for some of these guys to really boost themselves up. And yeah, it is 100%. 100%. If you're on the 259 card, the world is watching. Do you know what I mean? The world is going to be watching this card because of how stacked it is. If you're on the prelims, early prelims, wherever on the card, people are going to be jumping on to this. And I think this is going to be one of them cards that's going to be spoken about for a very, very long time to come. If it's not, it will go down as one of the biggest flops in history. Either or, this is going to be one of them cards that's going to be the massive, or it's going to be very, very disappointing. Tell me, George.
Oh, I just want to quickly go back to the Yan Sterling fight quickly. I completely forgot to mention something which should definitely be mentioned. We've been talking a lot about leg kicks recently. We all know that boxers, when they are boxing, their most important part of their body is their legs. If Aljamain Sterling wants to find a way to victory, attack the legs. If you take Yan's legs away, you'll take his boxing back an awful lot. So if you can attack the legs early on, then do it, because it will take a lot out of Petr Yan potentially. So if he's looking
oblique
for
kicks, violence.
Yeah,
I think the time over at Tiger Muay Thai would have probably stiffened up Yan's legs to be able to take kicks or check kicks properly anyway. Over there, training Muay Thai for such a long time, a very, very high level camp and gym like Tiger Muay Thai. I appreciate that he comes from a boxing background, but I really don't think that, he's got fantastic kicks as well. If he starts kicking Aljamain Sterling's legs, this kind of narrative that all you need to do is leg kick to win the fight, it's going to be who can get them leg kicks off first. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be insane.
The problem with leg kicks against a wrestler is that the wrestler can take you down off of the leg kicks. That's always going to be the trouble when you're fighting a very, very high level wrestler like someone like an Aljamain Sterling. You've got to be wary of that, because it's just another, I think what Petr Yan is going to really want to achieve here is going perfect for takedowns, takedown defense here. And if he can, he's going to want to avoid any opportunity he can to potentially give that up. And I feel like leg kicks will be a good way of allowing him to. And you know what? Sometimes, you can have incredible takedown defense, and if you get caught with that one leg, and it's just a balance issue at that point, and then you can't defend it at that point. So I would assume that leg kicks are going to be a part of his game, but I would also assume that Aljamain Sterling should, and I 1,000,000% agree with you, George. Like, that is the way to deal with someone like a Petr Yan. You've got to leg kick him. You've got to chop his leg down just to get to the hands, and also to discourage him from moving forward the way he does. Right? He moves forward and he's tight. He's not standing a good distance away and leaping in with a punch. He's right in your face, super tight. Yes, exactly, super tight, super close. Aljamain Sterling's going to need to find a way to make that distance there. And it's not going to be from anything other than leg kicking him and pressuring him and defending takedowns constantly.
I'm just so excited about this. Honestly, I've been so excited about this fight since they announced it, since people were signing contracts. They're back and forth on social media. Jan's kind of tongue-in-cheek remarks on his Instagram stories and stuff like that. And I think is there going to be a touch of gloves? Maybe not. Will there be a touch of gloves afterwards? I think so. I really do hope these guys can bury the hatchet and go out there and put on a performance as well. And another place where leg kicks is going to be vital will be this absolutely huge main fight on the card that we have in Jan Blachowicz versus Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya obviously coming up from 185, which is going to be nothing that he hasn't done before. The guy walks around at 205, 210 anyway before he cuts to 185. He was a decorated kickboxer and boxer, heavyweight as well as light heavyweight as well. This is just crazy. It's an absolutely crazy fight, and I'm so excited for this one as well. Jan Blachowicz, obviously coming out of Poland, Polish power and stuff like that. And Blachowicz beat Reyes the way that John Jones couldn't beat Reyes. And he was absolutely piecing him apart on the feet. His kicks were amazing. Leg kicks, obviously that very, very... the imprint in your mind when you think about that fight is that huge welt on the right-hand side that Reyes had. And then he completely put Bambi on ice when he caught him with that super short left hook. And Luke Rockhold as well. He completely destroyed Luke Rockhold. I'm not a massive fan of that guy anyway. He's one of these people that I just very much dislike. Between him and Chris Weidman, I don't know why I don't like them. I just don't like them. Give me hate. I don't mind. But he beat the shit out of Luke Rockhold, as well as Corey Anderson as well, with the super short, super sharp kind of looping upwards hook uppercut looking thing that just completely slept him.
Shovel punch.
Say again, sorry?
Like a shovel punch almost.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like he was leaning away to the side and came in with almost like a dip down right hook shovel punch. Yeah, we'll go with that. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
And that was huge for him as well. And he didn't stop. He knew he had him down. Corey Anderson was completely slept, but he just pounded. He waited until the ref ripped him off of the fighter. And another thing that really stood out to me in that bout was the implementation of the leg kicks that Jan Blachowicz had throughout these 3 fights, and he was implementing them throughout all of them. So these leg kicks are not a new thing. But Israel Adesanya is also very, very good at leg kicks. We saw him in Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa, to his credit, he was drunk the night before. We're gonna try and get a petition going that it was a no contest. He had too much wine. We've all been there. We've all had too many glasses, and we've caught a lot of shit.
Just not getting into a fist fight the next day.
What a load of shit, though. I mean, that's the worst lie I've ever heard. I drank a bottle of wine before. What a load of shit, man.
He might as well have just said that he was on PEDs and they effed his system up. Like, that would have been way more believable than the crap that he said. Oh my God.
But these fighters seem to have it so good, you know. Who's the guy that missed weight because he ate too much salmon? Oh, sorry, you ate too much salmon. Now Paulo Costa takes
Rafael Alves.
Yeah, and now Paulo Costa takes a loss because he was having too much Rioja. What next? Is Aljamain Sterling's going to miss weight because he was having too much foie gras before the fucking fight? Come on, man. What is this? Come on. I don't like it when fighters make excuses. I really, really don't. Take your loss, deal with it. Let's all move on.
Especially, 6 months later as well, dude? Come on.
Why can't you just accept that you got fucking destroyed, Paulo Costa? Come on, man. Just take your loss and move on. You've got a big fight coming up, man. Stop focusing on Izzy. Start focusing on old Bobby Knuckles. He's got a big fight coming along.
Oh, yeah.
Just leave it, man. Forget about it. Who cares? Move on. Seriously, it's for him. I don't think he beats Bobby Knuckles, but that's a conversation for another day.
And you know what? This fight really reminded me of Creed 2 as well, with regard to this guy that has everything. He's very flashy. He's kind of had some fantastic wins, and then he's facing some, Eastern European machine that takes baths in takes ice baths in just the local stream, just goes in and smashes a load of ice, just sits in it for a little bit. But you know what? Judging by Prath's MMA maths and MMA knowledge, because he's recently become a father, he's not going to win the fight anyway. So it doesn't matter, right? Prath, tell me what you got for this one, man.
Now, what I'm going to say is I love both guys, right? Love both guys. Blachowicz, you know, European, Polish, like we have a lot of, and like I know we obviously like we try and say like we love the British fighters, we love the Irish fighters, we love the Scottish fighters. You know what? I'm going to personally say it myself, and I don't know if the other guys will agree with me, but I kind of have affinity for most of the European fighters as well. Jan Blachowicz being one of those guys, man. And the reason why is because he's provided me with a little bit of joy every single week of my life since around July the 6th, 2019. And the reason why I say that to you guys is because I sit and physically watch Luke Rockhold being knocked out by Jan Blachowicz every single week. It's literally like when I'm having a crap day, I just go and you see the clinch position up against the fence and then he gets let out. And then it's just, oh, it's so beautiful to watch. So for that reason alone, I will always love Jan Blachowicz and I will always want him to succeed. However, he's going into a fight with my favorite fighter in the UFC right now, Israel Adesanya, style bender, coming through with a perfect mixed martial arts record, 20-0, you know, hundreds of kickboxing fights as well. Like this guy is one of the most experienced fighters on the planet. And I say experienced fighters, not an MMA fighter, experienced overall fighters. You know, he has the only thing that we haven't really seen from Israel's game is his takedowns and what he's like off of his back to a degree, right? The only time we've really seen it is when Kelvin, I think he missed a head kick off of Kelvin Gastelum, ended up getting him in a triangle. What the hell? And then, you know, Kelvin managed to get out of that as well. That's the only real ground side of Israel Adesanya you've seen. But you want to talk about one of the greatest kickboxers in the world, easily, you know, kicking, punches, combinations, style points. Style points is a big one for me. You know, he's not just throwing like a jab, right hand, right? He's throwing like a uppercut to a head kick to a spinning back kick. Like that's the kind of style you'll see out of someone like Adesanya. And I love the variety. I love that he, you know, for me personally, I'm a massive anime fan. So knowing that he kind of represents the kind of anime fan in a degree in the UFC, you know, he's employed a lot of those, a lot of the teachings and beliefs of programs like Naruto and Dragon Ball Z and things like that. And that might sound silly to a lot of people, right? But there is a lot of philosophies that you can take from these shows. And I'm speaking on that, knowing that I've been watching them since I was, you know, 10 years old as a little kid. There are things that you can take in this that will allow you to open your mind and be a better person. And I think that's kind of what Izzy's taken from these shows, right? And it's, you know, it's a goofy anime show. You can call it what you like, right? But he has really taken these philosophies and ran with them, and you see it in it's every part of his character as well. Like you see him on the on the walkout, he's represented that way, and if it isn't that, it's breakdancing. Like I just love his diversity of culture in general as well. The other thing I've been talking about for a while, and we've been talking on this podcast for a while, is the rise of the Nigerian fighters, and Israel Adesanya and Kamaru Usman are going to be the two kind of front covers of that magazine, if you will, and Izzy just being like I said, I've said it about 7 times right now, but he is the greatest kickboxer in the world right now. Jan's got a battle on his hands, I will say that, and I think as well that Izzy, you know, Izzy hasn't taken a lot of heavy shots in the octagon, right? You know, maybe like a few off of Yoel, the 3 strikes that were actually thrown in that fight and they actually hit Izzy, looked like they actually stung Izzy. So, you know, I feel like he's been able to take a hit, but does he taken a hit consistently from someone that hits as hard as Jan Blachowicz? That's what we're going to find out. And for me, I think both are at a very good level as well in terms of their striking. I think Jan has a chance here to really shock the world and put a statement on him being the champion of this light heavyweight division, right? He has just won the title from beating Dominic Reyes. This is his first title defense. If he doesn't go out there and really, really show everything that he is, it's going to really damage his legacy. And I think that Jan Blachowicz, I don't think he really cares about his legacy to the degree that I'm actually going to be talking about right now. But I think that he knows what this means to him, what it can show for him in opportunities. You know, if he beats Israel Adesanya, maybe that convinces John Jones to come back down and have that, you know, kind of pay-per-view main event kind of fight that he wants. And I think as well, like, you know, now that he's won the title, what is he really there for anything other than making an absolute crap ton of money now, right? He's got the belt. He's now a champion. He will forever be a champion. No one will ever be able to take that away from him. And now what's the next motive, right? And I feel like for me, Jan's kind of setting himself up for the future here now. And I think he realizes the gravity of this fight. And I think he's going to come with his best poker face. But I think Israel stings him and finishes him and hurts him badly.
You know what? You mentioned obviously Yoel Romero, and obviously we have the Anderson Silva fight and stuff like that. My only reservation with this bout, not that it's not huge, and not that both of these guys can absolutely bang. You know, Blachowicz is a true 205er. You couldn't see him at 185, and you wouldn't be able to see him at heavyweight. I think it would look silly to see him with that extra weight on him. Very much like Gustafsson. I don't feel like he looked very good at heavyweight. I feel like these guys are true 205ers. My only issue is they're both counter fighters, right? They both wait for their opponent to come in and then they make the connection, or they clinch up. Similar to the Luke Rockhold fight, they clinch up and then on the way out, they catch him. Same with Corey Anderson. They were clinched up. As they were pulling away, he caught him. I don't think these two guys are going to tie up too much, you know, just in my own opinion. I don't think that I think either of them are going to throw many punches in the first round. It might go the complete other way, and they might come out and they both might just be throwing absolute tanks at each other. But with both of these guys wanting to wait for the entrance and then counter, feel each other out, I think we might see 2 or 3 rounds of not a lot here before we go for it. Blachowicz got, I think, correct me if I get his name wrong, right? Izu Ungano, right? Who's like a Polish African guy. To be his sparring partner as well. Tell me, George, you're the boxing man. Tell me.
Yeah, I think sometimes a Polish national champion. Maybe he's not a great boxer, but he's gonna be helpful to Jan in his training camp for sure. Right, this fight. First of all, Izzy is a great kickboxer. Alex Pereira might have something to say about that. He's a 2-weight world champion in glory. He might have something to say about that.
How many years ago was that fight? I'm not talking
about the knockout, but at the moment, he's a 2-weight world champion in glory, and that's pretty damn impressive. But anyway, Izzy wins this. Is he TKO round 4 for me? I'm going to throw it out there straight away. And when I think about this fight, I like Izzy as a whole, and you perhaps right, this is like we're talking about one of the current greats of mixed martial arts and what he's kind of brought to it. He's a genuine pay-per-view superstar, isn't he? He has everything that you want out of a mixed martial artist in the UFC. He's got the incredible charisma outside and then the unbelievable skills inside, and the whole package is amazing to witness. And he's starting, this week it feels exciting, doesn't it? Because Israel Adesanya's fighting, and that's the kind of beauty of him. But for me, Jan can't stand there for 25 minutes and just try and go back and forth with him. I think he's too creative and he's too precise and he's too clever for Jan Blachowicz, in my opinion. I think something that hasn't been talked about a lot is Blachowicz has got 9 submissions in his career. He has shown he can take people down. That being said, Izzy's takedown defense, I think, is 87 or 88%, so it's super high. But we don't know what...
They really focus on their takedown defense, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. So it's high. So if Jan gets on the floor, it's impressive. But we don't know what Izzy's like on the floor. No one really knows. That when we're saying about people who've pushed him there, I seem to remember the Derek Brunson fight. Brunson kind of really tried to push him there, but he defended it really quite well. I wonder whether Blachowicz has got to try and explore that a little bit, if possible. But if he can even get close enough to Izzy. That's the problem. This guy is so elusive. he seems to escape every difficult scenario that he finds himself in. The only other thing I would say is I thought at times he got caught by Kelvin Gastelum in that interim title fight. He looked like at times he was rocked as well by Gastelum. And I'm going to put money on that Blachowicz hits harder than Gastelum. So if he was to catch him, which again could be quite difficult, but if he was to catch him, he might cause Izzy some problems there. But look, this guy is a superstar. He's going to become a champ for me. I think he's going to start chasing John Jones at heavyweight to cement that I'm the greatest of all time legacy that he wants quite desperately. And Izzy gets this done. I can honestly see your point, Connor. This could end up being slightly boring. I could see Blachowicz somehow pulling this out the bag. I could quite easily see Izzy putting on some kind of absolute masterpiece, and everyone on Sunday just saying that this guy is just insane. I think he'll find it difficult at times. I think Blachowicz will have success at times, but I can't look past Adesanya. In my household, Adesanya is king. My little brother comes from a West African background. He is just getting into fighting himself, and this kid and Adesanya is the guy for him. He always asks about this guy. So he'll definitely be waking up on Sunday morning asking, did Izzy become champ? And I'm sure the answer will be yes.
Absolutely. Not to disagree with either of you. I'm really on the fence with this one as well, because I just want it to be a good fight. That's all I'm hoping and praying for. I just want it to be a good bout with both guys showing respect for each other, which they, up till now, I believe they have been very respectful of each other. Yep. I want them to get in there, throw hands, throw feet, throw whatever the fuck else they want to throw at each other. Keep it clean, keep it a good, clean fight. And then I just want to see some really good technical bouts from both of these guys. I think Izzy has TKO power. I think Jan has KO power. I just, especially moving up to 205 in kickboxing, cool, or heavyweight in kickboxing, it's a different ball game to 205 in the UFC and in MMA in general. I think it's going to be good to see the extra weight on Izzy as well. But I think I do believe that Jan is going to walk in there the heavier man, definitely because of his frame, because of his stature, and just the way that he's built. I'm super excited about this, and whatever way it goes, I'm just going to be super pumped that we get to see this absolute showcase that the UFC is putting on for us at the weekend. Is there any other honorable mentions before we get to it?
My last honorable mention is to Uncle Dana. Thanks for putting together a hell of a card, man. This will be one of the ones that we were talking just before we jumped on here. I've been watching UFC from 2014, 2015, and this has been one of the best cards that I've personally seen being put together. And this is going to be, as long as, and I don't think that every single guy needs to deliver on this card. I think as long as the majority deliver, this will be a card that people will remember for a very, very long time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I just want to say, if Uncle COVID is listening, please, for the love of God, please, even the early prelims, please do not ruin the early prelims, or the prelims, or the main card. I will be fucking gutted. So please, COVID, stay away. Everyone inside the old little Apex bubble, do what you're told. And let's get the full card on Saturday night, because like Ratchet said, this is one of the best cards in living memory. So let's hope that it all goes ahead. Looking forward to the press conference. I see Leon Edwards and Bilal Mohammed are part of that as well, which is cool. And yeah, I can't wait for Saturday. It's gonna be great.
Guys, definitely don't do an Otman Azatar. Please, for the love of God, don't do an Otman Azatar.
Nobody takes I don't want to see anyone taking any bags. I want to see anyone swapping wristbands. Don't do it to yourselves. Don't do it. But nevertheless, we will be breaking down the card afterwards, as well, as we enjoy doing so much. So I believe it depends how much action we see. No doubt we will see it in plentiful amounts. We may even do a prelim post-fight breakdown and a main card post-fight breakdown, depending on how it goes. Thank you very much for joining in to the Fight and Talk 2 channel. It really means a lot to us, and thank you for making it through all the way to the end. Who knows? Who knew? Maybe you didn't, maybe you didn't, but thank you for joining us anyway. George, Prath, thank you as always for talking about the UFC. And it's just, I love doing this. And a card like this just gets me so excited and makes me realize that MMA is the best sport in the world. Don't tell any boxing fans, but MMA is the best sport in the world. I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Please do tell boxing fans, boxing sucks. MMA is better. You all know it. You all know it. Even all the boxing fans know it sucks, and MMA is the best.
Yeah, definitely. Boxing fans, if you're listening, definitely transfer over to the MMA. You get fights that you actually want to see. All those fights in boxing that you want to see, they never fucking happen. So get over it, because old Dana and old Sean, they put on every fight that you possibly want. And this card, if this card doesn't convince you to leave boxing behind and comes the MMA world, then mate, then you can fuck off, basically. See you later.
Wise words. If you're not following us on social media, check us out on Twitter, check us out on Instagram, at Fighting Talk 2. Find us on any of those good places. We are on Spotify, Apple Music, and all that good stuff as well. Hit like, hit subscribe, comment, tweet us, Instagram us, every which way possible. Guys, did I miss anything? We were speaking about something else earlier. What was it? Nothing. I've lost it. That's it. We're all good.
Yeah. We've done so much content that we don't even know. We can't even keep track of all the content we've got going.
I don't know what's going on. Nevertheless, we will see you on the post-fight. Thank you so much for joining in, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.